We're both going to be commenting on this last episode. Lisa is indisposed at the moment. She's very tired, didn't sleep very well. She's got some issues with her health again. And I know I should be looking in the camera and talking, but just doing so many things at one time. But yeah, so keep her in your prayers. Again, hopefully she'll get the rest she needs and feel better. She did want to share a couple things also, but because she's not here, we're going to have to maybe forego that until maybe next time.
Yeah, hopefully when she, if she wakes up, she
Yeah,
can still do it.
maybe
so.
if she wakes up in time, as long as we're going on, we'll see. But good to have you guys here. Opening up the chat as we go. Phil says we're not live yet.
Should be.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that was the text right before I went live.
Oh, okay.
So-
All right. Let me know if you guys are going to, if we're on. I'm just checking right now to see if we are on YouTube. Let's see, subscriptions and House of David. Yep.
Turn it down, turn it down.
Okay, I see. We're on. Turn my volume down. And yep, Phil's there. Hey, we got one person. No, two. Amber Torres. Hi, guys. I see you live on YouTube. Shalom. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, again, like I said, Lisa will be joining us. But Isaac, you get your chair ready?
Yeah.
Move down so you can.
Watch, we're going to get a whole bunch of questions every time they come in, right? Where's Lisa?
Where's Lisa?
Where's Lisa?
I know the show cannot
Where's
go without
Barbie?
Lisa. So, Lisa is again very tired. She didn't sleep well. She's taking some medication, not pharmaceutical, natural medication, and still has her restless leg, so she didn't sleep well, and she's gonna try to get the rest now. Hopefully, she'll get better and get rest before the show's over. And with that, I'm sorry, I'm shuffling my books around. We got
Oh, you know, here, I'll set you up.
Oh.
Turn that on, yeah.
we're on already.
Yeah.
Well, oh, that
No,
wasn't
it
it?
disconnected because you declined.
Oh, okay.
I
All
was
right.
playing that. So.
We are reconnecting. Living room. Okay. All right.
Cool.
Okay. Patrick's here. Good to see you, Patrick.
Aloha.
And yep. So we're reviewing the House of David. This is episode 8. Okay, the final episode. Isaac's turning the camera around so you can see. And shall I turn the light off? Since we're doing this
Oh, you're going to...
for
Yeah,
that?
we can just
I
turn
can turn it
back
on when it comes
after.
back on us.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you guys have any questions, just shoot it our way. I'll be monitoring the chat. Kaylee is also indisposed. She's got baby stuck on her, so she ain't
And
going
Mommy's
nowhere.
finally getting a nap, so
And
that's
so
good.
so the George ladies are getting their rest right now, as the George men will be carrying on the show like men normally do.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's that's when we get our best work done, though. When the
Yeah.
girls are sleeping. So.
Exactly. All right, so let's begin. The episode 8, the last episode of this first year, this first year series, starts off with the Valley of Elah, on the outskirts of the Philistines' camp. And if you remember from last week, the tribe of Zebulun decided to leave because nothing was happening. It was a stalemate. Nobody was fighting nobody. Food was getting a little scarce, and the house of Zebulun decided to leave, before anything actually took place. The king wasn't happy. Nobody was happy, but they left. Well, episode 8 starts off with this valley, and in the valley, who do we have? Oh, actually, it starts off this way, where there's 2 sentries posted, very beautiful night sky, and they're taken out by Prince Jonathan and with some mercenaries, and they go into the camp at night. Hopefully, they could assassinate the giant, because they dare not face him when he's alive and awake, with full armor and everything. So they're gonna try to take him out at night. And that's pretty smart planning, But as they're doing that, the tribe of Zebulun is retreating from Israel, from the Israel encampment. And then what's funny is that they're in this valley, and they're not far away from the Philistine camp. They got their torches lit, and you would think, hey, won't somebody see the glow of light, kind of investigate what's going on? Well, if you ask me, that's what should have been going on in the eyes of the Philippines. And again, it show goes back to the camp where they were trying to kill Goliath. Well, what happens is that as they're actually no, it's still in the valley, and the guys are all wondering what's going on, what's happening. And as they look up, the sky is lighting up by the mountaintops. And what happens next is um, the scene changes back to the house of David, not the house of David, but to the camp, the Philistine camp, where they were trying to assassinate this guy, Goliath. They failed to do so. And as you can see, Goliath is up and at him. He's nice and ready to do battle. He's calling out the army of Israel, taunting them, calling out King Saul, taunting him, and calling out God, the God of Israel, and taunting him as well. So, just a little bit backlash. The tribe of Zebulun actually is trying to dodge the fiery arrows coming from the mountainside.
Oh, because they got ambushed, right?
Because they got ambushed, and you would think, why would you travel by the Philistines at night? Hopefully nobody could see. Well, your glow on your torches was a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
But apparently they got, I'm sure, annihilated. That's not in the Bible. That is, again, fluff and stuff, right,
Yes.
Isaac? So, again, just keeping that in mind. Let's see. Oh, Leonard's with us. Brick's with us. Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Aloha.
Patrick says he hasn't watched it, but enjoys our analysis from wisdom and understanding the ancients. Thanks, Patrick. Again, it's again, we just wanted to cover it so that way, you guys, when you do watch it, you guys can critique it just as like we are, and see what's biblical and what's not. All right. So here, Goliath is looking pretty mean. He's got his big old shield, and he has a bag. Now, what do you think's in the bag, Isaac?
It's kind of a small bag, huh?
Yeah, it's probably manapua and pork hash,
Poi mochi.
poi mochi, snacks. This is he's gonna give it to Tammy and myself because we love to snack during the show. And Isaiah's with us. Shalom, Isaiah.
Aloha.
Okay, so well, apparently it's not snacks because here, as Joab and Eliab, David's oldest brother, are looking on, they're saying, "What's in the bag? They got snacks?" Well, no, they don't have snacks, and they're going to find out what it is. But the scene goes back to the camp of King Achish, and Achish has Jonathan as a slave right now. He's captured, and he's talking to Jonathan about what Jonathan's father, King Saul, did to Achish's father, killing him, and that's not good. So Jonathan's thinking, "Oh, this is bad. This is really bad." But Jonathan doesn't lose face. He's defiant. He doesn't want to eat. King Achish offers him some food, and guess what? He says, "No, I'm not going to eat with cowards." I'm thinking, just get the food and water, man. Save your comments after you eat. But that's Jonathan, not me. The camera moves back to David. Well, David is again at this point in his situation where he is envisioning this angel of the Lord again. Big topic to talk about in the future, but the angel of the Lord is there on the stream bed as David is looking for rocks, and David looks up and says, "Whoa, I remember this dream I had before. I shared this with Samuel, and Samuel told him, 'Hey, you got to go there with the right heart.'" So David does, and here the angel of the Lord is saying, and shows him his sword. It says, "Don't mess with me because my sword's bigger than yours." And David doesn't even have a sword. So
A question.
what?
The image of the sword.
Yes.
Does that remind you of something?
This sword right here?
Yeah. It kind of looks like Goliath, doesn't it?
Ah, possibly. But you know what? This is made by the elves.
Oh,
No, I'm
right,
only
right,
kidding.
right. Yeah, that's true.
The Philistine one is made by their technology. They're gotten from their so-called gods because Israel didn't have the technology to make hardened steel yet.
Yeah, it must still smell of trolls.
Oh, probably a lot of troll goop on there. But this is a angelic sword. So I mean, we're talking divine sword. So this is probably be very unbreakable, just like the elves.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're intermixing our J.R.R. Tolkien
with the biblical truth.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's more entertaining. So as David kind of wakes up from the fact that he had that vision of the angel of the Lord showing him, who's in charge in this battle.
Oh well, yeah. So what happened with that scene, right? He pulled out the sword and he was pointing in the water,
This one
right?
right there, yeah.
Yeah. And then David looked down and he saw a rock
And he
that
picked
was
it up
covered in
and
blood, right?
covered in blood,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?"
Yeah.
You know. So again,
And then yeah, the vision ended, right?
then the vision ended, and now he's back to scene here where he's looking for certain rocks. I'm not sure what kind of rocks he's looking for, but there's someone creeping up behind him, and who is it? None other but Prince Jonathan himself.
Mm. How
And
do you say his name is Hebrew again?
Um,
Yohanan?
no, that's yeah. I say it's Yohanan. No, that's Greek.
Oh.
How does it go in? No, it might be Hebrew as well.
Isaiah, shoot it to us.
Yeah. Okay, so we move on, and it is the Prince Yohanan or Jonathan, and he is asking David, "Dude, what are you doing over here?" Because he found out that David has been appointed the champion of King Saul, his father, and he actually comes up to David and says,
Wait. How did Jonathan get from Akish to being with David? We totally forgot about that part.
"Oh, we missed that part."
Yeah,
Yeah, because,
yeah.
I didn't get that slided, but Akish tells Jonathan, "Look, buddy, you're surrounded. You think we only have one giant? No.
We got more than one.
Goliath's brothers are behind you guys. You think we only had 4 tribes commit out of the 5 cities we have? No. I just
All
wanted
five.
I wanted to
united.
fool you and trap you guys because they're behind you. Now you're totally surrounded.
Mhm.
And guess what? There are more giants behind you than there are in front of you. So he told Jonathan, I'm going to let you go. Go tell your father this. Submit or challenge Goliath to a duel because we know you're not going to beat him
Yeah.
and we know that you're troubled. And so King Akish lets Jonathan go, and Jonathan makes it back, dehydrated but alive nonetheless.
Mhm.
And so he's back in his army. And as he's back, General Abner says, guess what? Your father appointed the musician, to be the champion
Mhm.
of the entire Israelite army. I said, what? And, everything is going to pot right now because everybody's saying, what was this? But the funny thing is that David's the only one that rose up to the occasion. He says, I'll fight the giant. Nobody else did,
Yeah.
right?
And we missed that part too.
Yeah.
When he
well,
walks into the tent, right?
The tent, right. And he's talking to the general. I kind of bypass that because that's the boring part.
Oh
The
yeah.
exciting part is coming in the end.
Oh, okay. I see
Yeah.
what's going on.
But
Okay.
we could just tell you the story. How's the chat going? Any questions, comments? Oh, okay. Amber's there. Yep. Tammy's there. Hi, Tammy. And again, everybody else from before. Okay, good. So, guess who's coming to join us?
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? My
Turn
wife,
on the light real quick. so
Tammy's
she can-
sister, is back, and that's Lisa. She is back to join us.
It's on the slides right now, so you're gonna walk in front of.
That's okay. You can walk in front of them.
Just gonna
Yeah. Okay.
These are the discourses. Have me read those
All
two,
right.
Okay.
and then also this one, not that one.
Okay.
This one.
Did you get enough
So
rest?
I'm okay.
You're okay? Okay. And the baby,
The baby is nursing.
baby's with Kaylee upstairs sleeping. Are you
Okay,
going to go to
yeah,
chat?
ahead.
Okay. Well, Lisa's going to join everybody on the chat, so it'll be more interactive that way for you guys. And we will continue to tell the story from down here.
Okay, yeah. So with that part, because that's when he became champion, right? So he shows up, right?
He shows up and
He shows up at because his dad gives him the blessing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Jesse gives him the blessing to go to the battlefield with
that
his
is- that's-
brothers.
Oh yeah.
right?
This is last episode.
Yeah,
though.
last episode, and then he shows up. I think
So
at the beginning of the episode, right?
King Saul's tent, and he tells King Saul, "I'm going to be your champion. I mean, I'll fight the giant."
No, but right before that, doesn't he hear the Goliath shouting those obscenities?
Yes, he hears Goliath
And
doing
that's
his,
what caused him to make him want to be champions, because
Oh.
it's not because he was like, I can go fight the giant, right? It was because he heard David blaspheming the name of Yah.
Goliath blasphemy.
Or Goliath, yeah. He heard him blaspheming the name of Yah, and he was like, who is this pet, like a little
Yeah.
thing to defy our God? So-
And in front of the army, he says, I'll fight him. Nobody wants to fight him. I'll fight him. And they all start laughing at him.
Yep.
But General Abner hears him and brings him to the tent of Saul. And in the tent of Saul, the king says, "Are you going to play music for me?" He goes, "No, I'm going to fight the giant." Says, "I'm playing my other role." Okay.
Yep.
And David's speech is so, again, convicting
And
that
moving.
and moving that King Saul says, "I've never heard such conviction before. Okay, you're my champion. Um,
The same spirit you bring into this room,
yeah,
go
take it
and
out to
fight
the
it with
to
Goliath.
the
Yeah.
battlefield."
Yeah.
And he orders his servants to get the armor, the king's armor, put it
To
on
put
David.
on David, yeah.
David is trying it on, and he says, "Man, this is oversized. This is clumsy."
And then we get the romantic part
Then
with
Michal
Michal, blah,
comes
blah,
in,
blah.
and they do their little romance dance,
Uh-huh.
and a little kissy here, kissy there.
Mhm.
And she says, "Come back to me. Okay, kill that giant and come back to me." So nice, you know what I mean? And yet David's terrified because he tells Michal, "I am scared. This guy is pretty mean, but you know what? I'm not going to have him blaspheme my God. I don't care if I die. He's not gonna. He's gonna pay the price or pay a price. I may not kill him, but I'm going to take part of him down with me.
Yeah.
Probably be a toe
Yeah.
or an ankle.
Rip off his foreskin again, right?
We'll see about that. See what's going on over here. Yep, she's on there. Yep, everybody's still there. Okay, so we move on. Jonathan is telling David, "Dude, who are you, man? I thought you were just a liar player. Not a liar, but a leer
Definitely
player."
a liar.
But he again is honest, and he says, "I don't know you, man. You had a good thing going. Like you really faked us out, you know."
Mhm.
And he says, "So who are you?" And David says, "I'm the same person. I'm the same person that was in your court, playing music for your dad." And then Jonathan says,
What tribe are you from?
"Yeah." He says, "What tribe?" And David says, "I'm from the tribe of Judah." And so Jonathan thinks, and he says, "Wait, okay, what city are you from?" And then David says, "I'm from the city of Bethlehem, the town of Bethlehem." You know, and then Jonathan starts putting the pieces together. Wait a minute, Judah, Bethlehem, and then he confronts him.
Shmuel, right?
Then he
remembered
confronts him.
Shmuel.
He confronts him and says, right here, he says, "Did Samuel visit your house?" I mean, because he's putting it together, and he knows about the so-called another person being anointed king.
Right.
And David looks at Jonathan, and he doesn't say anything, but Jonathan's really sincere in his question. And David says, "Yes, Samuel did visit our house."
Mhm.
And Jonathan says, "He anointed you?" And David says, "Yeah."
Well, I don't think he said yes. I think he just like walked away, right?
He figured out that the
Yeah.
anointing was to David.
Yeah.
And so here you have the scene there where they're kind of like being honest to one another.
Yeah.
David's not going to lie. He's not going to lie to his prince. And yet, the prince, you got to give him credit. Jonathan is a man of God.
Yep.
He has been in the entire series, and he's not going to decline now.
Yeah, he was his entire life, really.
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason he died is because Abba had to finish his promise about his house, right? So
Yeah, and remember, he also grew up with Samuel. Samuel helped raise his boy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
and he treated him like a father figure too.
yeah, so he was, if anybody, he was the most godly person out of that throne room compared to his father and mother. His mother is really
Oh yeah.
jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So here Jonathan says, "David, this guy is so big, you can't beat him." But he knows David is convicted to go and do it. And so he offers him some advice. He says, "Goliath, when he throws his spear, that's an opening that you have, that you might be able to get him after he throws his spear."
Yeah.
Because that's about the best advice he can give him, timing.
Because he was watching him all those days, constantly throwing those spears. Yeah.
Yep. And so Jonathan, who's given the stone that David gave him, because he asks, "How are you going to kill him?" And David says, "Here, with this," tosses him a stone. Now Jonathan tosses the stone back to David, and David says, "All right, well, I got to do what I got to do." So he's now walking back off to the battlefield, and Jonathan's just watching him, and he's thinking, "Wow, this guy is not your common man. He is
he is the Lord's anointed.
He has uncommon courage." You know what I mean? So now the camera goes back up on top of the mountain, looking at the battlefield. This is the battlefield in the valley of Elah, And here you can see, a lot of the Israelite troops on the left, and you got the no, actually, it's the Philistine army to the left, and the Israelite army to the right, where the stream is, where David was getting his stones.
Oh, I see
You
that.
notice? You see the
Are
stream
they
back there?
separated by the stream?
They're
Like
they're separated by that big field in the middle.
Right.
That's the field that they're going to do battle on.
Oh, okay.
And so now we come to the point where, again, Goliath is giving his last call. This is the last day, for you to send your champion. If not, then we're just going to swarm you and overrun you and kill you all. And so again, this is about this is the 40th day of his challenge. And here on top of the mountaintop, you have King Saul and his advisors with him and his two daughters with him. And the Philistines are just waiting for Goliath to give the command to go and fight. Actually, the command's going to come from the king, but they're all watching, and they're watching David walk onto the field, and they're ridiculing him because he's just a boy. He's a skinny, raunchy shepherd boy that comes with a stick,
Mhm.
and yet David's not afraid. I mean, well, he is afraid, but he's got this uncanny feeling that God is with him, and that he knows that the Lord will be with him, because he tells the people, and even more so his troops behind him, the Israelite army. He says, the battle is not won with swords and spears, but it's won by God Almighty.
Mhm.
It's He who fights the battles for us. And so Goliath is kind of ticked off. He says, "What is this? Is this a joke? You're gonna send a boy to fight me?
When I asked for a king,
Yeah, well, I'm the most badass warrior there is, and you're gonna send a boy." So he was insulted, definitely insulted. And here now you got Eliab and David's other brothers watching and saying, "Oh my gosh, my brother's gonna die. My brother's gonna die." They are convinced that he's gonna die because they don't know God. This entire army has no knowledge of God, or maybe knowledge, but not a loyal faithfulness that will see them through, and understanding that God will fight their battles. But here David now starts crying out to them and says, you guys are in trouble because I come in the name of the Lord, the God of hosts, uh, Elohim Sabaoth. And the next thing you know, David is saying, "You, Goliath, I will kill you and I will take your head," which is pretty interesting, because when David points at Goliath, Goliath says, "What? You take my head?" And that's funny because to him it's nothing. Here you have the two sisters, the princesses, watching from up on top of the mountaintop, and they are like just scared for David, scared for Israel, scared of the giant. They're scared of everything. I mean, everybody's scared here.
Mhm.
Then the father comes up and joins them and says, "What's going on? Oh, it's happening already? Yes, it is happening. And I am ready to see if my champion can do what he says." You know, let's see. Anything you want to say?
No. I'm just going through whatever she wanted me to read. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to make sure I
Oh,
start
okay.
at the right place.
Did she say when to read it?
No, she
No?
just said read it. So
Okay. Lisa, this message is for you. When did you want Isaac to share what he has to share? And Adrian's on. Hey, Adrian, how you doing, bud? How's it? How's everything down under? What a great beard. And Brick, he'll notice it. Brick's, I think, sports a beard. And Brick, are you jealous of King Saul's beard? Or are you talking about Mikhail's beard, which is none at all? That's my beard.
Mhm.
Patrick says, I bet my microwave has different time zone from yours, Brick. Oh, man. Yeah, microwaves are disposable items. Okay. So still waiting for mom to answer.
Fine.
Let's see. I got to text her. Lisa, when will Isaac
I don't think
read?
there's really a time. We'll get through this and then we'll do it. So.
And Brick says, I want one. Okay.
It really has nothing to do with this.
Really?
So yeah, it's a lineage and everything. So
Oh. No, but there's supposed to be a timing thing on there.
not necessarily, because
Okay.
this is the parts that they took out of the show. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Here, let me fix it.
Okay. All right, back to the commentary. So now we move back. So now King Achish and all the soldiers are laughing because of the fact that um, David is is not who they expected. Doesn't even have any armor on or a sword or nothing. And they're laughing. And David says that you can actually read his lips here. He says fire truck.
Mhm.
You know what fire truck means, right? That's a nice word.
No, he's
That's-
saying that we say in the islands, "Come you effa."
No, he's saying fire truck, okay? Or he's saying French fries, you know what I mean? Because you got to use,
Fruit Loops.
you have to use PG language on the show,
Mhm.
okay? But he's saying, yep, I'm going to take you on. His brothers, the two in the front here, they're somewhat like, oh man, they're concerned. And with that, David starts charging. I mean, who would ever think that someone would charge a almost 10-foot Goliath, and I should say massive Goliath, that is wielding the biggest sword you've ever seen, has the biggest shield you've ever seen, and he is going for it straight down the corridor, making a beeline for him. And here we have an action shot of Goliath saying, "You come with me here. Take this." And he launches his first spear. And you got to
Mhm.
remember, this spear is large, as long as a weaver's beam. For those that are making cloths, the weaver's beam is extraordinarily long. And the head on the spear weighed, gosh, how many shekels was that? It weighed a lot. I mean, it's like throwing a dumbbell, for the average man, 15, 20-pound dumbbell. And this guy is launching it meters or yards away.
Mm.
So the spear, oh gosh, what can I say? This is the third spear, actually. He launches the first two spears. It misses David narrowly. But this third spear actually here makes impact. And here you see the scene where David is taken off his feet. That's talk about a blow. I mean, he gets nicked by the spear. Nobody knows he's nicked, and his would-be girlfriend, wife, princess is like, "Oh man," she's got concern on her face, you know. And there he is, lying on the ground, spear in the ground, on the side of his body, and he is out for the count. The referee is counting 1, 2, 3. But in the process, here Goliath, another scene, they say, "Yeah, this guy's nothing. What I tell you." He looks back to his army, raises
Yep.
his shield in triumph, says, "Yep, just what I expected."
I got him.
Yep, and his soldiers are like, "Yeah, there's no way anybody can defeat our giant."
The
You
guy
know-
on the right looks Filipino.
Oh man, you know what? Filipinos all over the place. He just made a bad decision. So Eliav, David's older brother, says, "I'm not going to let this giant tear you apart."
Right.
So, but my question is, was he talking about shooting the arrow at the giant, or shooting the arrow at David, and
David,
taking him
to
out of
kill
his
him,
to
right?
take him out of his misery?
Right.
Because he's thinking he's wounded, if not dead already. So as he's about to release the arrow, Jonathan comes by him on his horse and says, "Whoa, bro, hold off. Okay, let's see this to this end." You know, because Jonathan knows something that Eliab, David's own brother, doesn't know. Jonathan knows that the Lord is with David, and that if he was truly anointed king, that he was not going to die, because he has to fulfill his calling. Which is the great thing about it, is that you don't know when God calls you, and when He does call you, then you know it. And when you know something like that, you cannot change what God's predestined plan is for you.
Yep.
Kind of like when you said that you knew God had a plan for you when you were paralyzed, on all four limbs. You had a plan,
Yep.
and I mean, God had a plan with you, and you were not phased. Your mom and I were sweating bricks. We were worried, sick. We couldn't believe it, and yet the faith that you carried with you brought you to this point where now you have a wife and a baby, and you're practically normal. Not though you're not 100%, you're still normal. So, and if anybody out there does not know that story about Isaac, text Lisa. Lisa wrote a book on it and the story behind it. If you haven't, there's only a few people here, but that's okay, because you know what? I think everybody's heard the story. Back to the show. So, as King Achish and his advisors are on the horseback watching David laying on the ground, one of his advisors says, "O king," and points up towards the mountainside. And up on the mountainside, King Achish sees a soul man up there. And now he has this look of discernment, or concern, actually. This concern is because who is up there on the mountain?
Shmuel.
Shmuel. No one else other than Samuel. And notice that at his feet is an altar, a
Mhm.
burnt offering, a burnt sacrifice on the altar. And if there's one thing you do not want to do, is allow a seer, a prophet of God, set up an altar to God and put a burnt offering on that, which pleases God. Because if that's done, if you see that scenario being played out, then it is lights out for the opponents. The enemies are in trouble. And King Achish realizes that, because he realized when he was talking to Jonathan earlier, he says, "Where's your seer? I don't see him." And Samuel is a representative of God. And if God is not there, then Achish is saying, all the better,
Mhm.
all the better. Definitely, we will take this battle. Unfortunately, when his advisor points to the mountainside and now they see Samuel up there, now concern comes over their minds. And Samuel is up there, and he again is the representative of God, and he is saying, "God, it's time for you to take over." Now Achish is concerned. He's not laughing and smiling at David like he once was, because now Samuel's there, and that changes everything.
Nope.
And here, Shmuel says to be brave as Moses, something like to be brave as Moses and to be as strong as Samson, you know, which is weird. I don't remember reading that quote in the Bible, so that might be a fluff and stuff one, or it might be in another book or something to research. We will find out as we look forward towards that. And so here now, Michal is saying, "Rise up," right? And that seems to be the theme for David. His mother would always tell him to rise up. Jesse, when he
Let
finally,
him rise, right?
yeah, let him
That was
rise.
the last thing she said to her husband.
Yep. And Jesse, reluctantly but honestly, at the end, told David, "Okay, your mom said not to protect him, but to let him rise up. In other words, let him be called to what God has called him to do." And so here, Michal is doing the same thing. Rise up, you know. And David gets up, and now he's preparing his weapon of choice, the sling, and he's getting it ready. As he was getting up, he picked up the stone that was on the ground, and when he picked it up with his bloodied hand, he saw the blood over the stone, and says, "Okay, all right, Lord, you got this. I'm your vessel." Now Goliath sees David get up, and he gets his fourth spear, and it says, "This is for my mother." Because if you remember in the earlier episode, um, Doeg killed Orpha, Goliath's mother, and framed the Israelites using an Israelite blade, and saying that this is from the house of Saul, and just again totally framing the Israelites. And when Goliath finds out it's the Israelites, he says, "Yep, I am taking no prisoners. Here, this is for my mom." This last spear he's throwing at David, and David continues to run towards Goliath, but now he's got his weapon of choice spinning, whipping around,
And pause.
and pause. Okay.
Okay. So we got a reading. Is the
All
camera
right.
pointed correctly? Okay. It looks
Good
like
job. Good job.
it. Nailed it. All right. So I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to start, but it looks like we have the history of Orpha.
Oh yeah. So speaking about Orpha.
So I'm going to start with the part with Naomi. So it says, Naomi, their mother, resolved to return her home. Her two daughters-in-law were very dear to her on account of the love they had borne her sons.
Okay. A little context.
Yeah.
Naomi is mentioned in the book of Ruth. Okay. Ruth is the mother-in-law of Naomi. Her sons were married. Naomi and not Naomi, but Naomi and Orpha. The Orpha I mentioned earlier are the daughter-in-laws. They are princesses of King of Moab, so they're princesses in their own right,
Right.
and they married Ruth's two sons. Well, the two sons died.
I didn't know where you wanted me to start. I see the bookmark, but
The
this
other
one
book?
first? Oh, you told me these two first.
Oh, we're
I
gonna
don't
read
know
this.
why,
We're talking
so-
about Orpha now, but
Yeah.
we asked for instruction.
That's fine.
Okay, so Orpha, these Ruth says, "Come back home with me to my country," and Naomi says, "Yes, I will go." But Orpha didn't want to go with Ruth. She decided to go back home to her father, the king of Moab, and Orpha, again, hooked up with one of these Nephilim. They say some say it's King Nimrod, and that's why she gave birth to giants. Okay, so now that you got this little backstory, who Orpha is, Orpha is the sister of Naomi. Naomi married Boaz. Boaz had Jesse, and then Jesse had David. So here's the family tree. David is cousins to Goliath. If you can imagine that.
And we will describe it here, I think. Yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead.
yet she would not take them. Let's see. For the love had been born her sons, a strong love strong even in death, for they refused to marry again. Yet she would not take them with her to Palestine, because she foresaw contemptuous treatment in store for them as Moabitish women. Orpah was easily persuaded to remain behind. She accompanied her mother-in-law a distance of 4 miles, and then she took leave of her, shedding only 4 tears as she bade her farewell. Subsequent events showed that she had not been worthy of entering into the Jewish communion, for scarcely had she separated from Naomi when she abandoned herself to an immoral life. But with God, nothing goes unrewarded. For the 4 miles which Orpah traveled with Naomi, she was recompensed by bringing forth 4 giants, Goliath and his 3 brothers. Ruth's bearing and history were far different. She was determined to become a Jewess, and her decision could not be shaken by what Naomi, in compliance with the Jewish injunction, told her of the difficulties of the Jewish life. This is a bunch of stuff about Naomi. Yeah, I think that's it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's just saying that she went 4 miles, and because she traveled 4 miles with her, with Naomi, she was able to birth 4 giants and Goliath and his 3 brothers. So,
Yeah, so in this account, which is the Legends of the Jews,
Yes.
book 4, Goliath has 3 brothers. There's 4 giants. Some accounts in the biblical passage actually talks about 4 brothers and Goliath, that's being 5. And being that the Philistine land had 5 cities, 5 giants each leading their own city, made sense. But again, we don't know. We weren't there, and neither were them. They're just doing the best they can do. So 4 to 5 giants, and that's where we're at right now.
and so I'm going to now go to
The
the
Old Testament.
pseudepigrapha.
The pseudepigrapha, okay?
And it looks like it starts here where it says David and Goliath. Right before that it says David as exorcist. I don't think that's it's important but not relevant.
Do you know where to read them?
Yes, I think it's here.
Okay.
Again, this is just bookmarks. I don't know where I'm starting. So
I just want to show
yeah.
real quick. Shay said Goliath spearhead also weighed up to 600 shekels, approximately 15 pounds. Like I said, like a dumbbell.
Right.
But yet he's throwing it
Yeah, easily.
far.
It's like
too.
those athletic discs, right?
Oh my gosh.
In the Olympics.
The javelin throw.
Yeah, or the javelin throw.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you got?
All right, David and Goliath. And after this, the Philistines came to fight Israel, and David returned to the wilderness to feed the sheep. And the Midianites happened upon him and wanted to take his sheep. And he went down to them and attacked them, and he killed 5,000 of their men. You got to realize this is before. Yeah, I mean, this is good reading. So I think people.
The discourse that I read to you, Isaac, is that we recommend
No.
the one between David and pass me the book.
Which book?
Pass me the book. He's in.
She's getting me right. So that's what's going on.
Okay.
Because that bookmark right there, right? And then so it says David and Goliath. So I'm reading that
Read
right now.
Chapter 61.
Yeah, right there.
Chapter 61, verse 9.
Okay. I had already
Verse
started
Oh,
that.
we asked you for help.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Okay.
She got it. All right. Let's see. And the Midianites happened upon him and wanted to take a sheep, and he went down to them and attacked them, and he killed 5,000 of their men. So I thought that was pretty interesting because we talked about in the other text where it said he was a mighty man, right? A man of war.
A Gibor,
So this could possibly point to the fact that yes, he is, because the Midianites tried to steal his sheep, and he over there killing 5,000 of them. So or 15,000. Excuse me, that was 15,000.
That's kind of overkill for a sheep, but
Yeah. So
learn to make that a lesson. Don't steal anybody's sheep, guys.
oh yeah, especially shepherds. This is the first battle that David fought while he was in the wilderness, and a man by the name of Goliath went forth from the camp of the Philistines, and he looked at Saul and at Israel and said, "Are you not the Israel that fled before me when I took the ark from you and killed your priests?" Interesting.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now that you are king, come down like a man and a king and fight us. If not, I will come to you and take you captive and make your people serve our gods. And when Saul and Israel heard these words, they were very much afraid. And the Philistines said, according to the number of days in which Israel feasted when it received the law in the wilderness, that is 40 days, so I will ridicule them, and afterward I will fight with them. And when the 40 days had been completed and David came to view his brother's battle, he heard the words that the Philistine had spoken and said, "Is this the time about which God said to me, I will deliver you into your hands by stones, the enemy of my people?" And Saul heard these words and sent and received him and said, "What is this word that you have spoken to the people?" And David said, "Do not fear, king, because I will go and fight the Philistine, and God will take away hatred and reproach from Israel." And David set out, and he took 7 stones and wrote on them the names of his fathers, those of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Moshe, and Aharon, and his own, the most powerful, and God, and Abba himself.
Right.
And God sent Zerphiel, the angel in charge of might in warfare. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Zerphiel?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like it. In charge of warfare. And David went out to Goliath and said to him, "Hear this word before you die. Were not the 2 women from when you and I were born sisters? And your mother was Orpah, and my mother Ruth. And Orpah chose for herself the gods of the Philistines and went after
Right.
them. But Ruth chose for herself the ways of the most powerful, or the Most High, and walked in them. And now there were born from Orpah you and your brothers. And because you have risen up today and have come to destroy Israel, behold, I who am born from your own blood have come to avenge my people. For after your death, your 3 brothers too will fall into my hands. Then you will say to your mother, he who was born from your sister has not spared us." And David put a stone in the sling and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And he ran up to him and drew his sword. And Goliath, while he still had life in him, said to him, "Hurry and kill me, and then rejoice." And David said to him, "Before you die, open your eyes and see your slayer, the one who has killed you." Damn, David cold.
Oh,
And the
man.
Philistine looked and saw an angel and said, "Not you alone have killed me, but also the one who is present with you, he whose appearance is not like the appearance of a man." And then David cut off his head. Now the angel of the Lord had changed David's appearance, and no one recognized him. And Saul saw David and asked him who he was, and there was no one who recognized him.
Interesting. That's not how the movie does it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically,
Well, we haven't
right?
seen that part yet.
They're
Yeah.
like rushing the battlefield, but
Yeah.
David's just like standing there, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it looks like he's about to join the fight. But
Definitely wants his scrap.
wow.
So that's the account in the pseudepigrapha. You know, again,
Mhm.
it's, there can be a sense of accuracy there, and it's true though. The greatest embarrassment is dying by your own sword. So for David to sling the rock on Goliath's forehead and to knock him out, to knock him in a sense of immobilizing him.
Yep.
Then for David to get the Goliath's own sword and kill him with it, that is the most humiliating way to die on the battlefield.
Yep.
And this is exactly what God orchestrated through David, because Goliath was trying to humiliate the army of Israel, the king of Israel, and the God of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you're going to dish out humiliation, you got to be able to take it.
Yep.
And guess what? Goliath's not going to be dishing out any more humiliating pronouncements.
Yep.
Okay, back to the movie.
We got one more.
Oh, one more.
Yeah.
Well, you do. Okay.
Yep.
Read away.
So I went back to the other book, which is Legends of the Jews.
Okay.
And then this, I believe it starts here. It's the encounter with Goliath.
Okay.
It looks like the bookmark's on this page, so I might start on this paragraph. So all the more cause then David to hate Goliath and determined to let's see. Orpah. Okay, but yeah, I'll start here because it mentions his mother again. David was not long permitted to enjoy the ease of life at court. The aggressive manner assumed by Goliath drove him to the front. It was a curious chance that designated David to be the slayer of Goliath, who was allied with him by the ties of blood. Goliath, it will be remembered, was the son of the Moabitess Orpah, the sister-in-law of David's ancestress Ruth, and her sister as well, both having been the daughters of the Moabite king Eglon, right? You mentioned that earlier.
Yep.
David and Goliath differed as widely as their grandams. I think it's supposed to say grandmas. For in contrast to Ruth, the pious, religious Jewess, Orpah had led a life of unspeakable infamy. Her son Goliath was jeered at as the son of 100 fathers and one mother. But God lets not go unrewarded, even in the wicked. In return for the 40 steps Orpah had accompanied her mother-in-law, Naomi, Goliath the Philistine, her son, was permitted to display his strength and skill for 40 days. So that ties into the fact that he declared, right, he'll antagonize them for 40 days,
40
or
days,
something
yep,
like that. And then at
exactly.
the end, he'll, blaspheme God and then kill them all.
Right.
And then, and in return for the 4 tears Orpah had shed on parting from her mother-in-law, she was privileged again to give birth to 4 giants. Of the 4, Goliath was the strongest and greatest. What the scriptures tell about him is about a small fraction of what might have been told. Scriptures refrain intentionally from
Expatiating.
Okay. Expatiating upon the prowess of the miscreant. Nor do they tell how Goliath, impious as he was, dared challenge the God of Israel to combat with him, and how he tried by every means in his power to hinder the Israelites in their divine worship. Morning and evening, he would appear in the camp at the very time when the Israelites were preparing to say the Shema. All the more cause then for David to hate Goliath and determined to annihilate him. His father encouraged him to oppose Goliath, for he considered it David's duty to protect Saul the Benjamite against the giant, as Judah, his ancestor, had in ancient days pledged himself for the safety of Benjamin,
Right.
the ancestor of Saul. For Goliath was intent upon doing away with Saul. His
Mm.
grievance against him was that once, when, in a skirmish between the Philistines and the Israelites, Goliath had succeeded in capturing the holy tables of the law, Saul had wrestled them from the giant. In consequence of his melody, okay, is it? No,
Yeah, melody. No, melody,
Okay.
yeah.
Saul would not venture to cross swords with Goliath, and he accepted David's offer to enter into combat in his place.
Mm.
David put on Saul's armor, and when it appeared that the armor of the powerfully built king fitted the erstwhile slender youth, Saul recognized that David had been predestined for the serious task he was about to undertake.
Mm.
But at the same time, David's miraculous transformation did not fail to arouse his jealousy. David, for this reason, declined to array himself as a warrior for his contest with Goliath. He wanted to meet him as a simple shepherd. 5 pebbles came to David of their own accord. So he didn't pick them from the river. They came of theirs, and when he touched them, they all turned into 1 pebble.
Hmm.
Interesting.
The legends, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And-
legends, right?
Yeah.
The 5 pebbles stood for Yah, the 3 patriarchs, and Aharon,
Hmm.
Hophni, and Phinehas, the descendants of the last, had only a short time before being killed by Goliath. Scarcely did David begin to move toward Goliath when the giant became conscious of the magic power of the youth. The evil eye David cast on his opponent sufficed to afflict him with leprosy. What?
So you're saying David had Dwayne Johnson's evil eye?
Yeah, do you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Yeah.
Ah!
Jeez.
And in the very same instant, he was rooted to the ground, unable to move. Goliath was so confused by his impotence that he scarcely knew what he was saying, and he uttered the foolish threat that he would give David's flesh to the cattle of the field, as though cattle ate flesh. One can see, David said to himself, that he is crazy, and there can be no doubt he is doomed. Sure of victory, David retorted that he would cast the carcass of the Philistine to the fowls of the air. At the mention of fowls, Goliath raised his eyes skyward to see whether there were any birds about. He was like, where's the birds at? The upward motion of his head pushed his visor slightly away from his forehead, and in that instant the pebble aimed by David struck him on the exposed spot. An angel descended and cast him to the ground face downward, so that the mouth that had blasphemed Yah might be choked with earth. He fell in such wise that in such ways that the image of Dagon, which he wore on his breast, touched the ground, and his head came to lie between the feet of David, who now had no difficulty in dispatching him. Oh, it's just like, wow, the symbology, right? Dagon.
Yeah.
Remember when we talked about it when the Philistines
But
stole the Ark of the Covenant,
Yep.
and then Dagon kept falling down.
Yeah. Yep. Same thing.
Same thing.
And so Goliath was in that battle when he killed Eli, the high priest back then, who raised Samuel.
That was when they.
That's the battle. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's the battle. We did episode 1, remember?
Yeah.
And Eli, when he said, "What happened to the ark?" They captured it. Then he fell over backwards. It was so heavy, broke his neck. So that was a battle that Goliath
was
says,
in.
"Didn't I, take the ark from you, Saul?" Because this is
Right.
doing Saul's reign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So-
goodness. Hey, see, Abba doesn't forget.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Goliath was encased from top to toe in several suits of armor, and David did not know how to remove them and cut off the head of the giant. At this juncture, Uriah the Hittite offered him his services, but under the condition that David secure him an Israelitish wife. David accepted the condition, and Uriah, in turn, showed him how the various suits of armor were fastened together at the heels of the giant's feet.
Okay, now do you know who Uriah is, right? Uriah married this Israelite woman. Her name was Bathsheba. Bathsheba is also known in English as Bathsheba, the one that David would see on the housetop bathing herself, and he told his people to go get her, and he went to bed with her, got her pregnant, And Uriah, this is the same Uriah
Same Uriah.
that did so much for David, and David just wronged him.
He didn't even wrong him. He sent him to die.
Well,
like,
yeah, well, talk about wronging.
Yeah,
But
that's
to
like
take
the
the wife
worst
and-
kind of thing.
Well, because you know
man.
why? Uriah didn't want to go to bed with his wife while he was still in battle, and that's why David was hoping call him from the battle, from a future battle, and get together with your wife, get her pregnant, and everything's good. No, he did not. He was faithful to the rest of his troops. If they can't sleep with their wives, why should I?
Yep.
He camped out, and David said, "Curses, foiled again. My plan didn't pan out, so I need to now put him into the front of the battle." And he did. And Joab knew about it because Joab was instructed by the king. And Joab allowed Uriah to die, you know, pretty much fighting by himself.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that's sad, but Uriah is mentioned there. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's right, Patrick. Coveted his wife and had him killed. That's why you got to watch where your eyes are going. You know, 1 John chapter 2, verses 14, 15. The lust of the eyes. Do not let the lust of the eyes take over.
There might be a little more.
Okay,
I don't know.
is there something else you want to read? We're
It
doing
feel-
good.
Yeah, it feels like this might be part of it too.
What is
It's
it?
Doeg and Abner.
Okay, that's later on.
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then.
All right.
All right, so back to the movie, guys. David is doing his spinny thing because he's got his sling out.
And so yeah, so to bring context to why all of that was not in here, we don't know.
It's the backstory to this story, you know, and that's why we're doing this.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel like that would have been important to have that conversation because it puts so much more emphasis on the fact that Yah gave him the victory, not David just, being anointed, right? Like
Yeah.
he had the angel with him, you know?
Well, he was the anointed. Remember, David said it earlier. The Lord will fight our battles.
Yeah.
And in this case, he really did. So
Yeah, but I feel like it would have given a more visual explanation, especially the part right before he dies, right? The Goliath. He was still alive when David chopped his head off.
yeah, the stone immobilized him,
Yeah.
and then he went in for the kill. It's just
That would have been a good interaction because then they could have. That's part of the reason why they didn't, because they'd want to tie in the fact that David transformed, right?
well, this is a transforming. This was the watershed moment when he became known, not just as a musician, but as a warrior,
right.
unlike anyone else. You know.
Well, in the show,
Yeah.
everybody else knew he was a warrior. In
Yeah.
history,
in history, they knew he was a warrior.
15,000 Midianites, that all by himself.
But see, that's legend. So we
I
to-
don't know, man.
to corroborate
Corroborate?
that, we have to get more witnesses.
That's true.
Okay, so this is the point when David is going to let the rock fly, and there's a frontal that's showing that, hey man, this is the last face you're going to see, Goliath, and he shoots it. This is the scene when he actually gets struck by the rock so quickly after he threw the spear that his shield didn't come up in time, and the rock embedded under his helmet into his forehead. Okay, and here David is like, whoa, that was fast. What happened? You know, he's still wondering what's happened. And in the actual movie, his right hand is shaking.
Yeah.
It's got a nervous twitch. And then they go to profile shot, and you see the blood streaming down his forehead, and he's got this really concerned look on his face. And then now more blood is coming out from the helmet, not just his forehead, and so the blood is gushing out. And whenever a soldier drops his shield, you know that the end is near. Because that shield is supposed to protect him from anything coming his way.
And if he can't protect himself, right?
Then he's subject to being attacked and killed.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that rock got to his forehead before the shield got up to cover him. And here we have the bigger they are, the harder they fall. This is a drone shot. They had drones back then.
Yep.
And the drone was looking down on David, looking down on Goliath. Look at the proportions. Look at the size. Look at the sword that's on Goliath's back. David is saying, "Okay, now for me to finish the job. Sorry,
Mhm.
cousin. But you were on the wrong side of the family." He
And you
struggles.
defied our God.
Yeah, and he struggles lifting the sword up because it's really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
big and really, really heavy. And so here he grabs it with two hands and he says, "Okay, just one final chop, the fell swoop, and boom,
Head.
he's lifting up the head, severed from the body. That head, you thought the spear of Goliath was heavy. This is his head with its helmet on. How heavy is that?
Yep.
And then plus there's blood dripping all over the place. So David was not ready to go to the dance because he was covered in sweat, dirt, and blood. Now it pans back to Jonathan and older brother Eliav, and they're like in disbelief, and they're saying, "Oh my God, David did it!" And Shemuel on the mountaintop sees it, and he is cheering.
Praising.
He is saying, "Yes, God, you have not failed us again for the umpteenth time." And again, like I said, when God's seer or prophet is present, there's trouble for the enemies. Trouble. David now drops the head and picks up the sword because he's looking back at his brothers and his Israelite army that was laughing at him. I mean, everybody laughed at him. And you can see now that the opposing army is coming towards David. They got to try to salvage what they can. Here, Shmuel has this look of pride because his pupil, the one that he anointed as king,
And
has-
his king has been avenged.
has-
his
has-
God has been avenged.
he has accomplished the goal and task of the anointing of the true king of Israel. And what else can a prophet do but just smile because God, again, cannot be flawed or
Mocked.
mocked, and that God is again avenging himself through David, who Shmuel anointed. And here we have David now facing the adversary. Funny thing is that he must have gotten a real power surge, adrenaline surge, because he's carrying that very, very heavy sword with one hand now.
Yeah.
Yep, which is, I think, a Hollywood mistake.
Or maybe the transformation he encountered gave
Yeah.
him some muscles.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Again, but when the Holy Spirit indwells you, you
You can
become
do anything.
powerful. Yeah.
Yep.
Samson was not a bodybuilder or big like Goliath. He was an average dude,
Mm.
but he had the power of hundreds of men.
Yep.
So again, Holy Spirit power, guys. Ruach Hakodesh can do things to you that you could never imagine.
Never.
And this concludes the 8th episode of season 1, The House of David.
The final
The
episode.
final episode. And we are thankful that you've joined us to go through this series with us. Now we have to wait who knows how many months before the next series comes out, the second year.
Yeah, I think
Right.
somebody mentioned that it was confirmed, right? That
Yeah.
there is a season 2.
Oh,
so
that's a lot of people following this.
yeah.
And if you know anything about Hollywood, Netflix, Amazon, they go where the numbers are.
Yep.
And if the numbers are showing good, they're going to keep it up,
Mhm.
right? So
Speaking of numbers and being really good, I need to still watch Brave New World.
Brave New World.
Yeah, the Captain America movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I've
So
heard
let's
a
see.
lot of good things about it. In the same era as that trash Snow White. Same
Yep,
time.
yep. Do not see Snow White. That is, I hear it's a stupid film.
I heard it was a waste of money. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking at the comments. Good comments. Thanks, guys, for everything. Thanks for keeping up with us. Yeah, even Tammy says they're having a season 2. So again, Mango's here. All right, Mango joined us, and Sharon is here as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this time of fellowship. Again,
Our
it is 3:08.
tiny little narration
Yep.
with some extra biblicals and some
Yep.
more truth to the story.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you can read about Samuel and David in other readings other than the 66. So I encourage you guys to do your own research, to read up and find out those golden nuggets that are out there. I'm not talking about McDonald's. I'm talking about God's word. And with that, Isaac, anything else you want to say?
Um,
Thanks, Kaylee, for taking care of baby, so Isaac could do this. Thanks, Lisa, for getting rest and allowing Isaac to do this as well. I know Lisa would have loved to have read, but she's just really out of sorts right now, deeper in prayer. Um, um, Phil also mentioned that the prayers that you've given out for his friend Dennis, who had double bypass surgery, he's doing good. Prayers are working. He's
Praise
getting
God.
a pacemaker put in now. Yeah, so he can get jolted if he's not doing something right.
Right.
Yep. So good news there, Phil. Thanks for sharing that with us. He's in the chat as well. So if there's anything else, we look forward to seeing you guys this Saturday. We're having Hebrew Hawaiian. We're going to have who's joining us on this Saturday?
What are you talking about? It's all you, buddy.
No. Gosh.
I was not informed of our
Yeah.
plans yet. So
I must be getting old. I can't remember anything nowadays. I think I need some.
is it you, Chavez?
No. Chavez, we're working on the Angel of the Lord thing, so that's something that we'll probably share together.
Oh, okay.
But
Is it Zach Lewis? That'd be interesting.
no, not Zach Lewis.
I should text him.
He was just on. Oh, the one that the evangelist that was at the conference. Why can't I remember his name? Lisa, what's his name? Lisa. She's not watching the show. She's just reading the chat. So, with that, we're gonna sign off. Thanks for joining us, guys. For all our moderators out there, again, kudos to you. Good work. And for all of you that were here just to fellowship with us, thanks for joining us. We will see you again. Aloha.
Shaloha.